Welcome back to The Person Everyone Needs. I'm your host, Webb Hoggard, and I want you to consider for a moment that there is nobody who is becoming a human. Every person you meet is a person in development. I don't care how young they are, I don't care how old they are continuing to become something. And I guess that thought has been on my mind lately because recently I've gotten to take two pretty significant trips. One was a missions trip to Ecuador. While I was there, the Ecuadorian people are very small people, and I'm larger in stature. And so there were a few times where people would ask to take pictures with me, or I'd ask to take pictures with them, and they'd be like half my height. And they were sweet. Most of the people who wanted to take the picture were like older women, and it was sweet to kind of see this huge difference in us. But she was no less like a person than me, just because my stature had gotten greater, and she'll grow, she won't grow anymore because she's older in her life. And because we couldn't speak in, the same language, she speaks Spanish, I speak English. We're just nodding and smiling at each other. And often when we don't understand one another, there is a feeling that there's something, maybe this person is a little diminished in our view. But the truth is, we're just unable to communicate. They're no less human, is what I'm trying to say, no matter who it is you're talking to. If you're holding a baby, which I got to do in Ecuador, I got to hold these beautiful little babies, and I just love that age. And as I held those babies, those are developing humans. I can't disregard them or make light of their, like, they are precious in God's sight at this age already. They're not going to become a human. They are human right there. I know this sounds so fundamental, but I feel like a lot of times for us, we look at our children and we think to ourselves, I can't wait to find out who they're going to be. But they're going to be who they are, like who they are right now. We are a sum of our decisions. We are a sum of the place that we are heading right now. So the person that you want to see, I understand you'd like to understand their mind better, you'd like to communicate better and all that, but I recently saw someone who's going through a difficult time. They didn't mean anything by it, but they said the hardest thing about their childhood is that everyone was there, right? Like the think back to the childhood is realizing that all the people that they loved are there. Well, the problem is, like, all the people that they love now weren't there. If I look back at my childhood when I had my papa was my best friend until I was 6 years old. And I look back and I say to myself, like, I wish I could go back to when I had him. But what I'm also saying in that moment is that I wish I could go back to when I didn't have my wife, or when I didn't have my boys, or I didn't have the calling understood in my life, like a lot of other things in my life that would be discounted and fall away. So I need to find a way to not only enjoy my own life in every single season that I'm in, but I also need to learn how to invest and love the season that everybody else is in. And I guess the reason that's really on my mind is, yes, Ecuador was that time. That baby will never know that I held that baby, right? I will never forget that child, but that child will never remember me. And the old ladies that wanted pictures with me, how much longer would they even remember that this huge white guy from America came and took a picture? I don't know how much I impacted or changed their life or invested anything in them. But even for that just moment, like, I won't forget the feeling of being noticed by these people. Last week, I took my second trip I was telling you about. I took my kids to Florida. And while we were there, we went and did several theme parks, and it was people over people over people. And I got over peopled out at these theme parks as we walked around exhaustingly all day. But each of the days we were gone, we also took time to spend with friends. The first night, we sat down with some pastor friends of ours that they were like leaders to us, and that we were able to talk about the struggles of ministry, not whining, but just discussing the real parts of our life. And they kept looking at us and being like, yes, but don't forget that these seasons will pass, and who you are becoming in each one of these seasons is who you are. Not to mention those little kids in your life, those children, your sons, they are becoming the men that they will be. And so you can't forget the seasons that they're in because there are other things to get to. You can't lose the focus, which I was thankful for that. And usually I'm always thinking that way, but it was a wonderful reminder of the fact that like my little 7-year-old Jude is Jude. He's not becoming Jude. He won't be Jude one day. He's Jude right now. And then after we had dinner with them, the rest of their family showed up, and there was a family with one of the children had 2 kids, and another child has had 4 kids. And so the house is just roaring with my 3 kids in the mix. And I'm looking at each one of these young people, and just wishing that there was some way I could get through to them how important, how essential, how beautiful their life could be if they would just start recognizing that they are already a person. They're already building the person that they're going to be. They're already the person that somebody needs. They're already heading in the direction of what is needed in their life. So I guess I say all that to say this, and that may have felt like a long time to get to this point. Over the next several weeks, I want to talk about if you were starting over, or if you're in your early teens or even preteen. My oldest son just turned 10 years old. One of the families we met while we were gone had a 13-year-old, and one of the other families had another 10-year-old with 4 other children. We were surrounded by friends and their kids, and I just was thinking for myself that I want to leave some level of impact on their life. I want them to remember that when they were with me, they laughed. When they were around me, they felt seen. That they weren't just the things that we weren't constantly looking for a babysitter so that we could get to our real friends, but we somehow, some way, I found a way to enrich who they were, that they felt seen by me. And so I remember one of the days we were eating lunch. My best friend from Florida, he has 4 children, and so I was sitting with his second born, who is classic middle child, right? Like he is sandwiched between the perfect oldest one and the needy youngest one and the needy second youngest one. So he's quiet, he's off to himself, and he until he needs some attention, he's pretty much docile. And so I just remember like asking him questions about himself, and he even acted shocked, like I even noticed he was there. And that's the kind of thing, like I want to have some lasting impact on people in that way, because everybody does matter. The baby matters, the toddler matters, the child, the kid, the preteen, the teen. Every level of a person's development, young adult, middle-aged, not so middle-aged, retirement age, elderly, they matter. The older they get, the more they have to offer. The younger they are, the more impressioned they can be. But every single person that you come in contact with is a person that's important, essential in the eyes of God, that He loves, and that we should as well. We should value every single person we come in contact with. Peter was talking about this when he was writing his book. In 1 Peter, he talks about that we need to do all that we can to value the people around us. The word is honor that we go to, but the idea is like financially understanding that people have value. Don't pass through this life without recognizing that each person you come in contact with is eternally loved by God Almighty. That Jesus laid down His life for each one of them, just like He laid His life down for you. And that they are a person of destiny. They're a person of identity. They are a full-on personhood, but they're also a person of destiny. And if you can help in any way steer them in the right direction toward passion and greatness, then I think you're doing a good job. And honestly, no matter who they are, how matter rich they are, or how strong they are, or how weak, or how old, or how young, no matter who they are, every person needs a person who sees them. So I guess really the person that sees others as valuable, that's a person that everyone needs. Over the next several weeks, I'm going to be focusing on if I could talk to every 10 to 13-year-old about how to put their life together. I want to have that conversation over the next several weeks. And so my encouragement for you is that maybe you're older than that. Obviously, I am. But maybe there's some things that we can discuss over the next few weeks that will be healing to you from the things that perhaps happened in that season of your life that have been difficult. So over the next several weeks, I'm going to be having conversations, not on the podcast, but if I could sit across the table from your 10 to 13-year-old, just like I have a 10-year-old now, if I could sit across the table, these are the things that I would want to say. I look forward to the next installment of The Person Everyone Needs.